The first email came at 11:47 p.m., and I thought it was a prank. The second one, the next night, made me realize either I was going insane or the future was clawing its way into my inbox. The subject line was always the same: "He's coming." I stared at the glowing words on my cracked laptop screen in my shoebox apartment in Chicago, the radiator hissing like it was mocking me. I wasn't the type of guy people wrote love letters to, let alone myself from the future. My life was painfully ordinary. I worked as a data analyst, ate instant ramen, and avoided human contact like it was contagious. The only excitement in my inbox usually came from discount codes or my boss sending me spreadsheets at ungodly hours. But then these emails started. They were short, direct, each night at the same time, always signed with my own name, and always mentioning a stranger. "He will look at you like he already knows you. Don't be afraid. He's going to sit across from you tomorrow. Notice the way he taps his pen. That's the beginning. If you run, you'll regret it for the rest of your life." I laughed the first time, cursed the second, and by the third, I was scared, because the emails started getting things right. Like the night they warned me the cafe down the street would run out of blueberry muffins. I shrugged it off until I stood in line the next morning and watched the woman in front of me buy the very last one. Or the time it said my upstairs neighbor's dog would bark exactly at midnight. And like clockwork, those sharp yaps tore through the silence of my building. That's when paranoia started gnawing at me. What if this wasn't a prank? What if my future self was trying to save me from something or lead me to something? And then, on the seventh night, the email wasn't cryptic. It was clear. "Tomorrow you'll meet him. Don't push him away." I didn't sleep that night. The next day, Chicago was buried under a late winter chill, the kind that made your bones ache. I trudged through slush, headphones blaring a playlist of songs that barely kept me from drowning in my own thoughts. I told myself none of it was real. No stranger was coming. No life-changing moment was around the corner. But then I walked into the coffee shop on Michigan Avenue, the one where I hid from the world every morning before work, and there he was, sitting at my table. First, I was annoyed. It wasn't technically mine, but I sat there every day at the same time, and people usually learned to leave it alone. But this stranger sat there like he owned the place. His blonde hair was messy in a deliberate way. His leather jacket looked like it had seen better days, and when he lifted his head, his eyes met mine. And damn it, the email was right. He looked at me like he already knew me. "Sorry," he said, voice calm, warm. "You usually sit here, right? I can move." It should have been simple. I should have nodded, taken my coffee to another spot, and forgotten about him. That was what I always did: avoid people, avoid connection, avoid life. But something about him, the way he waited, not defensive, not smug, just open, made me pause. And then, without thinking, I sat down across from him. He smiled, small but real. "I'm Adrian." My throat felt tight. The emails were screaming in my head, but all I managed was, "Evan," and that was how it started. If fate were a straight line, maybe it would have been easier. But love, especially the kind that sneaks up on you when you've built your entire life around keeping people out, isn't linear. Adrian was nothing like me. He was messy where I was meticulous, fearless where I was guarded. He told stories with his hands, laughed like the world hadn't already chewed him up, and looked at me like I was more than some ghost hiding behind a screen. And the worst part? The emails kept coming. "He'll make you laugh tomorrow. Don't hide it. He's going to touch your hand. Let him. When you're afraid, remember's worth it." I wanted to ignore them. God, I tried. But then Adrian did make me laugh with some dumb joke about a pigeon stealing his sandwich, and it felt like my ribs were cracking open. And when his hand brushed mine over the table, I didn't pull away. I froze, sure, but he didn't flinch. His fingers lingered, steady, like he knew I needed the silence more than words. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. But here's the thing about fate, it's cruel. Because the emails weren't just about beginnings. They started hinting at something darker. Don't let fear ruin this. If you run, he'll break. There's something he's not telling you. That last one haunted me. Every time Adrian laughed, every time his eyes softened, I heard it. There's something he's not telling you. And I didn't know whether to trust the man in front of me or the future version of myself who seemed to know how badly this could all end. 2 weeks after we met, we sat on a park bench near the river, the city lights bleeding into the water. He leaned close, our shoulders brushing, his warmth seeping into me like it belonged there. You ever feel, he asked softly, like some things are just meant to happen? I wanted to laugh it off, to throw up my usual wall of sarcasm. But instead, I whispered, every night. His gaze lingered on me. Too long, too heavy, like he was about to say something that could shatter us both. And just as his lips parted, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Another email. 11:47 p.m. on the dot. I didn't read it right away. I was too busy drowning in the closeness of him, in the quiet miracle of being seen. But later, alone in my apartment, I opened it, and my blood ran cold. Tomorrow you'll learn the truth. Don't walk away. If you do, you'll lose him forever. The next morning, I woke up with a pit in my stomach, like my body already knew what was coming. The email's words echoed in my head tomorrow. You'll learn the truth. Don't walk away. If you do, you'll lose him forever. I tried to shove the thought aside, brushed my teeth, pulled on the same gray hoodie, drowned myself in coffee. But everything felt off. The city noise was too loud, my reflection in the mirror too sharp, and when I walked into the office, my coworkers' chatter grated against my nerves. I couldn't stop thinking, what truth? What could he possibly be hiding? By noon, I caved. I texted Adrian. Me, you free later? Adrian, always. Coffee or something stronger. I stared at the screen. Stronger. Yeah. I needed stronger. We met at a dim bar tucked between a laundromat and a bookstore. One of those places with creaky wooden booths and warm lights that made everyone look better than they felt. He waved me over, grinning like he'd been waiting for me his whole life. And when I slid into the booth, I realized my hands were shaking. You okay? He asked, brows knitting. Yeah. I lied, gripping my glass too tightly. Just tired. But I wasn't tired. I was terrified. The thing about Adrian was he had this way of disarming me. Even when I was drowning in my own paranoia, he'd just look at me, and suddenly the noise in my head went quiet. That night, he leaned across the table, his voice low, gentle. There's something I should tell you. My breath caught. The email. The warning. My pulse pounded in my ears. He hesitated, fingers tracing the rim of his glass. I wasn't planning to say it this soon, but I don't want secrets between us. The silence stretched. Then he said it. I don't live here. I blinked. What? I mean Chicago, sure, for now. But I'm not staying. My visa runs out in 3 months. I'm from London. Relief hit me so hard I almost laughed. All this tension, all this dread, and it was just that? But then I looked at him again. His eyes weren't just guilty. They were scared. 3 months, I repeated, numb. He nodded. I didn't want you to think I was temporary, that I'd just walk into your life and vanish. But the truth is I might have to. I should have walked away right then. Should have protected myself. Shut it down before I got in deeper. That's what I always did, self-preservation. No attachments. But the emails had warned me, don't walk away. And when Adrian reached across the table and covered my hand with his, I couldn't move. His touch was steady, warm, grounding. I don't know how this ends, he whispered. But I know I want to spend whatever time I have here with you. The words broke something open in me. For years I'd convinced myself I didn't need anyone. That loneliness was safer than heartbreak. But here he was, offering something fragile and reckless and real. So I didn't walk away. The days that followed blurred into something dangerous. Happiness. We fell into a rhythm. Mornings at the cafe, evenings tangled on my couch watching terrible movies, late-night walks where his laughter filled the empty streets. He teased me for overthinking. I teased him for his accent, and somehow it felt like we'd known each other forever. But the emails never stopped. Don't waste the time you have. He's going to need you soon. Be ready. When the choice comes, don't run. They haunted me, even in moments that felt perfect. Especially then. Because if the future me was so desperate to warn me, it meant something was coming, something that could ruin everything. It happened on a Tuesday night. We were at my place, half a pizza gone. Some indie band playing softly in the background. Adrian sat cross-legged on the floor, flipping through one of my old notebooks, laughing at the stupid doodles in the margins. "Evan," he said suddenly, voice quiet, "can I ask you something?" "Shoot." "Why me?" He looked up, serious now. "You don't let people in. I can see that. So why me?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Why him? Because the emails told me? Because fate shoved him into my life? Or because when he looked at me, I felt like I wasn't broken? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. 11:47 p.m. I froze. Another email. Adrian noticed. "You okay?" "Yeah." My voice cracked. "Just work stuff." I shoved the phone aside, heart hammering. But later, when he fell asleep on my couch, I read it. And it shattered me. "Tomorrow he'll tell you the whole truth. It will hurt. Don't push him away." The next day, Adrian was restless. I could see it in the way he tapped his pen at the cafe, the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. By evening, he texted me. "Can we talk?" "My place." I almost said no. Almost told him I couldn't handle whatever storm was coming. But the email's words burned in my mind. Don't push him away. So I went. His apartment was small, cluttered with books and mismatched furniture. He paced the living room, running a hand through his hair. "There's something else," he started, voice rough. "Something I didn't tell you. And before I do, I need you to know I never meant to hurt you." My chest tightened. He stopped pacing, looked straight at me. "I didn't meet you by accident." The room tilted. "What?" He swallowed hard. "I knew who you were before that first day at the cafe. I didn't just stumble into your life. I sought you out." The air cracked between us. My mind reeled. Flashes of every email, every warning. None of it made sense, and yet maybe it all did. "Why?" My voice was sharp, trembling. "Why would you do that?" "Because," he whispered, "you saved me." I stared, cold crawling down my spine. "I don't understand." "Not yet," he admitted. His hands shook as he reached for me, stopped halfway. "But one day you will. And when that day comes, you'll realize I didn't come here to break you. I came here because without you, I'm lost." And just like that, the fragile safety I'd built cracked wide open. Part of me wanted to scream, to shove him out, to demand the truth now. But another part, the part that remembered the emails, the warnings, the promises, kept me still. Because maybe, just maybe, the stranger who was supposed to change my life wasn't just a stranger at all. That night, after he finally fell silent, I left his apartment and walked the frozen streets alone. The city lights blurred in my eyes. My phone buzzed in my pocket, 11:47 p.m. sharp. Another email. I pulled it out with shaking hands, breath fogging in the air. "You've reached the edge of what I can tell you. The rest you have to live it. Trust him even when it hurts. Trust yourself, even when you're afraid." And for the first time since it all began, I wondered, was I being warned by my future self? Or was I being led? Chicago felt colder that night than it had all winter, though maybe the chill came from somewhere inside me. I walked home with the email replaying in my mind. "You've reached the edge of what I can tell you. The rest you have to live it. Trust him even when it hurts. Trust yourself, even when you're afraid." It felt like the ground beneath me was shifting, like the safety of those messages had been ripped away. For weeks, they had been my compass, my anchor. Now, suddenly, the voice from the future was silent. And Adrian was keeping secrets. The following days became a blur. He still showed up at the cafe, still smiled at me, touched my hand when I got lost in my head, laughed at my dry jokes like I was funnier than I'd ever been. But underneath, I felt the tremor, the weight of what he hadn't told me. One evening, I snapped. "You can't just say you sought me out and leave it at that," I said, sharper than I meant to. Adrian's face fell. "Evan, no," my voice cracked. "If you're going to be in my life, I need the truth. All of it. He stared at me for a long time, jaw tight, eyes wet. Then he whispered, "I'm not ready." That nearly broke me. "Then maybe I'm not ready either," I muttered, pushing away from the table. I walked out, heart pounding, the cold air cutting like knives. For 2 days I avoided him. No texts, no calls, no cafe. I threw myself into work, but the spreadsheets blurred and my mind kept circling back to him. The sound of his laugh, the way his hand lingered against mine, the raw honesty in his eyes when he said, "I'm not ready." By the third night, I couldn't take it anymore. He was waiting outside my building. Snow dusted his hair, his cheeks red from the cold. He shoved his hands deep into his pockets, looking like a kid who'd been left out in the rain. When I saw him, my chest tightened so hard it hurt. "I didn't know if you'd come home tonight," he admitted softly. I almost told him to leave. Almost. But then his eyes met mine, wide and pleading, and all the fight drained out of me. "Adrian," I whispered, "just tell me." We went upstairs. My apartment was quiet, heavy with the things we weren't saying. He sat on the edge of my couch, fingers twisting. "Remember when I said you saved me?" he asked. I nodded. He swallowed hard. 2 years ago, London. I was not okay. I thought. His voice cracked, and he shook his head. "I thought my story was over." My breath caught. "But then," he continued, "I found something online. A blog. Just a handful of posts. Honest, messy, raw. About loneliness. About wanting to matter. About being terrified to let anyone in." I froze. "I read those words," Adrian said, his voice breaking. "And for the first time, I didn't feel alone. You kept me alive, Evan. Your words. You don't even remember posting them, do you?" My throat closed. Those posts, yeah, they were mine. A forgotten blog I'd started in the darkest period of my life, when I was screaming into the void, sure no one would ever hear me. I abandoned it, convinced it hadn't mattered. But it had. To him. "I had to meet you," Adrian whispered. "When I finally got the chance to come here, I knew I had to find the man who saved me without even knowing it." The room spun. I sank onto the couch beside him, numb. "All this time," I said hoarsely, "you knew me." "Yes." His eyes brimmed. "But not like this. Not the way I know you now. Not the way I—" He stopped himself, biting down on the word. I closed my eyes, shaking. The truth hurt because it meant our beginning wasn't chance. It wasn't fate. It was him searching, chasing, while I was left in the dark. And yet, hadn't I felt it from the start? That strange pull. That sense he saw me more clearly than anyone else ever had. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But instead, I whispered, "Why didn't you just tell me?" "Because I was scared." His voice cracked. "Scared you'd think I was some obsessed stranger. Scared you'd hate me. And I couldn't risk losing you." Silence pressed heavy between us. Finally, I whispered, "You should have trusted me." His shoulders sagged. "I know. I didn't kick him out that night. But I didn't let him touch me either." We sat side by side on the couch until dawn, the weight of truth thick in the air. When he finally left, I collapsed onto my bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if the emails had been right all along. "It will hurt. Don't push him away." The days that followed were brutal. I wanted to believe him, wanted to forgive. But every time I looked at him, I heard the lie of omission, felt the sting of betrayal. And yet, every time I tried to shut him out, my chest ached like I was tearing myself in two. Adrian didn't give up. He showed up at the cafe, patient, quiet. He didn't press, didn't beg. He just sat there, waiting like he'd wait forever. And slowly, against my will, the walls I'd built began to crack. One night, I found myself back at his apartment. We didn't talk much. We just sat, watching the city through the window, his hand resting lightly near mine. And for the first time since the truth came out, I didn't pull away. "I don't know how to do this," I admitted, voice trembling. "Neither do I," Adrian said softly. "But I know I want to try with you." And something in me finally broke. The anger, the fear, the doubt, they didn't vanish. But underneath them, I realized, was something stronger, something terrifying. I wanted him. That night, when his lips finally touched mine, it wasn't fireworks or music swelling like in the movies. It was quiet, shaky, real. His mouth tasted like salt and honesty. His hands trembled as they cupped my face, like he was holding something fragile. And maybe he was, because for the first time I let myself be held. But love is never easy. Not with secrets. Not with time running out. 3 months. That was all we had. And every day, I felt the clock ticking louder. The countdown began the moment Adrian reminded me his visa would expire. 3 months. 90 days. Each sunrise felt like a stolen hour. Each laugh borrowed against a debt that was coming due. It should have made me run shoulder VE, made me guard my heart, but instead, it did the opposite. I clung to him harder, and he clung back. We lived like we were burning through time. Morning coffees became ritual, our fingers brushing until holding hands in public didn't feel like rebellion anymore, it felt like survival. Nights stretched into confessions whispered in the dark, his accent wrapping around my name like it was something holy. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a ghost moving through the world. I felt alive, seen, wanted. But beneath every kiss, every smile, was the ticking clock. 2 weeks before his visa ended, the emails came back. After weeks of silence, weeks of forcing myself to live without that cryptic guidance, my phone buzzed again at 11:47 p.m. I opened it with shaking hands. This is where you'll want to let go. Don't fight for him. Fight for yourself. I didn't know whether to feel relief or despair. Relief because my future self hadn't abandoned me. Despair because the warning meant a storm was coming. The storm arrived the night Adrian broke down. We were in my apartment, a thunderstorm raging outside. He paced the floor, restless, his face pale. I can't keep pretending this isn't killing me, he whispered. Every day closer it feels like I'm watching us bleed out. I stood, grabbed his arm. Then don't leave. His laugh was broken. You think it's that simple? I've tried every option. My visa's ending. My job's waiting back home. I can't just, yes, you can. My voice cracked. Stay. With me. We'll figure it out. He froze, eyes wide, like he hadn't dared hope I'd say it. Then, quietly, you'd want that? Even after everything I kept from you? Yes, I whispered. Because even when you lied, you were still the first person who ever saw me. And I don't want to go back to being invisible. That night, we didn't sleep. We held each other through the storm, through the fear, through the impossible hope. And for once, the emails didn't matter. All that mattered was us. But hope, as always, wasn't enough. Days passed. Immigration paperwork hit walls. Dead ends piled up. Adrian's flight home loomed. And every night, I braced for another email. The night before his departure, it came. This is the moment. If you let him go, you'll regret it forever. Be brave. Choose love. At the airport, everything felt unreal. The announcements echoing overhead. The lines of travelers dragging suitcases. The way his hand trembled in mine. This is it, he whispered. No, I said fiercely. This isn't it. Tears filled his eyes. Evan, don't you dare say goodbye. My chest ached. If you walk through that gate, it's over. And I can't, my voice cracked. I can't lose you. Not after finally finding you. He stared at me, broken, torn between duty and desire. And then, just as the final boarding call echoed, he dropped his bag. Gasps rose from the line of passengers. An airline worker shouted something. But Adrian didn't care. He pulled me into his arms, kissed me like the world could end and he wouldn't regret it. And in that moment, I knew he wasn't leaving. It wasn't easy after that. We fought for it. Lawyers, forms, long nights of doubt. People told us it wouldn't last, that we were reckless, that we were fools. But fools in love are stronger than cynics without it. And slowly, piece by piece, we built a life. Not perfect, not easy, but ours. Months later, on a quiet spring night, I got one last email. You did it. You chose love. And that choice saved you both. From now on, you don't need me to guide you. Live. Be brave. Be happy. I read it twice, tears blurring the words. Then I deleted it, because I didn't need the future anymore. The present Adrian's laughter in the kitchen, the sound of music drifting through our apartment, the feel of his hand in mine was finally enough. We weren't strangers anymore. We weren't broken halves fumbling through loneliness. We were two men who chose each other against the odds, against time, against fear. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for something better. I was living it. The stranger who was supposed to change my life had become the love of my life. And every night, when I lay beside him, I didn't need emails to remind me of the truth, because I could feel it steady, certain, infinite beating in the quiet rhythm of his heart against mine. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.